Welcome back to Rappahannock Issues. We've been having our election coverage. We are now joined by a supervisor from the George Washington District who has been reelected unopposed, and it's Bob Thomas. So
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
And so as you look at this, both you and Jack Cavalier were reelected, and then Wendy won in the Rock Hill District. So what do you think does that parlay or say about Stafford County and the way forward?
I think it's been, in my first 4 years, very clear that the board has laid out a vision and we've prioritized and we've budgeted towards those priorities. And I think it speaks volumes that the citizens like what they're seeing. For the first time in our history, Stafford County has 40,000 jobs within our county boundaries. That's something we've been working on for a very long time. We want to keep people in Stafford County and keep them off the highway and off the beloved hot lanes. So I think we're doing a good job there. And you know, our other priority is in education and public safety. And we have a lot of good metrics. Our test scores are really good when it comes to things like that. And you know, with having Jack back and bringing Wendy on, who kind of is the same belief as most of the people on the board, I think you'll see us even accelerate further on those priorities that we're working on.
Well, I think you mentioned we have 3 women on the board. The first woman was elected back in 1971, so now you have 3 ladies on the board. That's probably not going to make a great deal of difference in terms of your direction or way forward, and yet it will at some level.
Yeah, I think it's a neat opportunity for Stafford County. There's probably not that many counties throughout the whole Commonwealth that can say that almost half their board is female, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity for them. You know, I think if you look over our last couple of years with the females, we do have, we all work the same. We really don't see, we don't see things that way. It never comes into play for us, so I really don't see that as an issue, and I think it's a good opportunity.
Well, several of the challenges, and I know from watching the board meeting, the wonderful school issue with the I say 9 million, but they say 8.3 million issue. I know you worked very closely with Wayne McOsker to try to get the money for the school buses because they were in need for that. So how do you sort of see how this is playing out? Because I don't think a lot of people understand how this is going to go forward about figuring out this money. And
right. So, you know, the things that we can do with that almost $9 million is very strict. It can only be spent for one-time expenses, things like buses and infrastructure. I think the school board would be well served to go ahead and buy the finance system that they've been talking about for many years. So I think you'll see that happening. But, you know, we need to be very clear to the public that we can't use it on things like teacher pay raises because those are recurring expenses. So as much as we would probably like to do something like that, those are off limits according to our financial policies and good governance.
Bob, what do you think about the forensic audit to go back and have a look at the school's spending history and specifically how they control their accounts and where there might have been some improper management of accounts going back 2011? I know some members of the school board want to go back into the aughts to watch this system and see where the breakdown had begun and try to trace it. Because you really can't fix a system that's that endemic unless you really go deep.
It's tough. You know, I'll tell you that the superintendent that we have in place now, Dr. Benson, has been the most transparent superintendent I think we've had in a while. I can call him and ask him pretty much any question, and he doesn't hold anything back. He'll give me the answers. We knew about the $8.3 million nearly instantaneous when he found it. And I received a couple of school board phone calls. You know, what do you think we should do? Our board has a finance, audit, and budget committee, and audit is one of the big things we do. So, you know, we sat down at the county table and talked about how they might be able to strengthen the finance committee that Dwayne helped start a couple of years back and add that audit function to it. And we kind of came up with a forensic audit idea and you know, told them we would certainly support that. And there should be plenty of money to pay for that since they just found that is a one-time expense. So.
Right, yeah, hopefully.
Yes.
You were talking about some races in other counties that you thought were interesting.
Yeah, you know, over the last couple of years, I've been very active in VACO. That's the Virginia Association of Counties. I'm actually serve on the board for that and represent 7 counties to include King George. And Ruby Bravo over there in King George, we've become pretty good friends. And I was just checking some results before I walked in, and it looks like a pretty good upset over there. I think it's a new chapter in King George politics.
That's for the at-large seat.
For the at-large seat.
She currently represents a single seat.
She's coming from the Dahlgren district and decided to forego that seat. It would have been probably an easy win for her. I think she won 70-30 in that district tonight. But she felt that she could serve the citizens in a bigger role, and I'm very proud that she pulled it off. She ran a very good, clean campaign, nearly flawless, and I think
It's worth noting, actually, this is about, I know it's about a year old in this information, but they do sort of a rotational system for chairman there, and they're pretty good about sort of rotating it.
Right.
And she came up as pretty much her turn to be chairman, and as far as the board members were concerned, she was just rocking the boat just a little too much, and they bypassed her. And the Freelance Star in particular took a rather strong exception to that, as did a lot of the voters. And I think this is a little bit of a response to that, because
Yeah, you know, I think
it seemed pretty harsh.
I think the Freelance Star, they did finally get on board with that, and you know, we don't always agree, but that was one of the things I thought was very good of them to highlight, some of the blatant, you know, unfairness that was being thrown her way, and hopefully the other members that are still there will kind of see that the message came from the voters that enough's enough, and let's treat everybody as equals, and we'll all be better for it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does over the next 4 years.
I know there's still a lot of Senate races and House races still out there. And we have about 2 minutes, but do you really see any sign that things will be changing in Richmond as far as the way Governor McAuliffe deals with transportation issues, or will he get his majority in the Senate, things of that nature?
It's a little too early to tell. I haven't had a chance. You know, I'm super focused on all the Stafford races, and you know, we did get all our results in, and you know, the Republican ticket had a clean sweep, so we're very happy about that. As we look across the state, you know, the one thing I hope changes in the governor's approach, and he'll get some support from the General Assembly, is the fact that education funding has not recovered from a state perspective from when they pulled back at the recession. All the localities, including Stafford County, have really poured money back into education, and we really need the state to step up. So we're working with our local delegation to figure out how maybe they can come to some agreement with Governor McAuliffe, and he stated it as a policy goal. So hopefully we'll see this budget that's coming out real shortly with some more education funding headed our way.
I think we have a little bit more than a minute left, or less than that, less than a minute, about a minute. So a big issue that everybody cares about in Stafford is either transportation / growth. And I noticed that both you and Jack Cavalier have been pretty strong against just willy-nilly put anything anywhere. And you both won. And if my memory serves me, during the debate, Wendy had sort of the same mentality, it'd be measured, more diversity. And so is that sort of, do you have a mantra now on the board to sort of push forward with that?
Well, I would say that 4 years ago, when we won an overwhelming Republican majority, I think everybody assumed the developers were just going to put their projects in and get rubber stamps, and you just have not seen that in Stafford County. You know, I personally have been very stingy with my yes votes. Unless I see a project that has an overwhelmingly good public benefit to it, and they're covering their costs, they're not getting my vote, and I think you're seeing a couple more of the supervisors. We've turned down a couple of them that were surprise votes here recently.
But the large ones, yes.
Yes, and we're just trying to hold things back. You know, just because somebody has property doesn't mean they have the right to just build thousands of homes on it. And it's very expensive to bring new school children to the community, so we have to figure out a way to you know, get the builders to understand that they have to cover that cost, because the rest of the taxpayers that are already here cannot do it.
All right, well, and it's going to have to be covered with us by taking a break so that we can continue with our show. So we thank you for coming on, Bob. Hope that you'll stay with us as we come back to wrap up our special election night coverage.